Welcome back. A question that a lot of up-and-coming YouTubers ask is, how do you create a YouTube background? So we're going to discuss what that might mean and how you do that.
Oh, the actual background.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like the background for a... Forget it. That's what we're going to talk about. Okay, there. That
was the video logo.
Yeah, there you go. So backgrounds for YouTube. Why does that matter? Who wants them? Does it matter? I have questions. Begin.
Yeah. Well, people want to create a show. They think, okay, I've got to create my set, or I've got, what do I put behind me? And my first recommendation is to really work with what you've got. In this case, this sound wall was never really meant to be a background.
Right.
But I put some blue lights on it, and it turned out it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Find something that...
yeah, you worked with what you had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so if you're in prison right now, unfortunately, you're only going to have kind of a gray, dingy background. But maybe if you can work like your loved one's pictures into it or something like that, right? Isn't that kind of where you're going?
So in other videos, I've talked about doing research and finding good examples of what you like. This is another one of those cases where look at other YouTube channels, maybe that are in a similar niche to yours or not, and what do they do as their background? I mean, if it's a vlog, they're changing, they're moving all over. But if it's a talking head video, a how-to video, where you've got a continuous background, find examples of what you like. There's, what's the one, Rhett and Link, the Good Mythical Morning. They've got their weird set.
Stuff on the walls and all
or you think of like a sports commentary thing. They've got their
jerseys and trophies. Right, yeah.
So you could create a set like that. But another recommendation that I have is when you have a high quality camera, the whole reason what we're filming on here is a DSLR with a lens with a f-stop 1.4. What that means is it's got a really narrow area of focus, which means that back here, we're actually pretty close to the wall back here. The further away we are from the background, the more it's blurred. So you can actually take kind of a messy background or a kitchen that's still got stuff left out on the counters, but you blur it and it actually looks pretty nice.
Well, if you go to this link here, this is the link to my little YouTube channel. Yeah. You'll see some of the work that Nate does for my stuff. It's the same thing, the blurred out background, a kitchen or a living room or whatever. And it really does. It adds such a nice touch of professionalism. And it makes it visually quite interesting, even when often the subjects themselves are not terribly interesting. At least the look is. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. So in this room here, we're pretty small.
Yeah.
But in the last time that we filmed at your house,
we turned it around.
Yeah. So I was in the kitchen, had the kitchen counter. You and your wife were sitting there, and then we had the whole dining room and
he
living
blew
room.
out the whole back, and there's 30 feet or whatever behind us of just blown out stuff. But it's kind of, we need to move the lights, by the way, so they're not in the mirror reflection. I just noticed. That's just me. You don't. But when you see it, you'll know what I'm saying. But anyway, yeah. Keep going.
So that's a recommendation, is to get a good quality lens that can really blur things. And even if you want a tutorial on that, go to YouTube. How to blur, I don't know, what would it be?
Background.
How to blur a background with DSLR.
And by the way, if you're like a lot of people who don't know what DSLR camera is, because
digital,
everybody uses
sequent. I don't know.
It's a
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I used to know.
Anyway, it's a camera, just a regular, one of these like cameras, right, with a camera body and lenses. That's how you get the lenses that are wide or narrow or whatever, like he's talking about.
Oh, so the quick tip here was just throw some colored lights in. I mean, I have these LED lights that I can.
Yeah, this is not a blue
colors.
Wall.
Yeah,
this is like
dark
gray.
A dark gray sound foam
with blue flashes from each side.
So I could turn it red or green or pink, or maybe we should do pink.
Do pink next time. Join us tomorrow. No, we won't do pink.
Okay, now I'm actually going to have to take the camera off to show you this, but I'm going to recommend. So I hesitate I hesitate when I say the word recommend, because there's a reason why I use this. You can use a green screen.
Right.
So we filmed on a green screen. I've got a roll of green paper up there, which I'll show you in a second too. But we then took a photo and put it in the background, and this is with a client of mine, Marianne. We worked on it, the lighting and whatnot, so that it looked like she was in that room.
Right.
Okay. But with my team in the Philippines, with the processing power of their computers and whatnot, the green screen, it just took more time than I wanted them to take on editing. It really doubled the amount of work that they had to do. The time it doubled the length of time. So I had an idea. I thought, why don't I take that photo that I was putting in the background, print it on a big, huge vinyl background, and then just film in front of that, and let's see how it works. So I spent $100 on this. So haven't adjusted the lighting for this, but you can see it's just hanging from the ceiling, and I've got stuff in front of it here, but you can see. And one thing I want you to notice, the audio is going to be a little weird. Notice how I'm in focus and this is blurred. It's actually in focus on this, but it's printed blurry intentionally. So let me come back and we'll talk about that.
Oh, I thought maybe when you blew it up, it just accidentally was out of focus. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. So I did that on purpose. When you put a photo, like we talked about blur, when you have a good quality lens, the background will naturally blur when it focuses on us. So if I put a photo behind us, in the editing software, you always add a few % blur, so that it looks more realistic.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes when things are a little bit too crisp, it's like you can tell that it's not real, but when you blur it, it's like, oh, that actually makes it look realistic.
Yeah.
So when I took that photo, obviously I had to make it really large to send off to the print company. But before doing that, I did actually add a few % blur to it.
And you told them, look, this is going to look blurry to you, but it's supposed to.
So it's intentionally blurry.
It's kind of fun, yeah.
So that when I put my camera in this corner of the room, put the subject about right here, that's in the background, get the lighting just right. The lighting's a little bit tricky, but that's an option, is you can take whatever background you want. If you want to make it appear like you're filming in the Oval Office, or outdoor scenes you're going to have to work with the lighting, but you could really do anything. If you want to appear like you're in a beach. If you think about news channels, a lot of times they'll have a glass window behind them showing the city.
Right. Yeah.
They don't really have windows there with the city behind them. That's in most cases. Maybe they do sometimes.
Some do, yeah.
But in a lot of cases, it's a TV screen or some type of...
Yeah, it's keyed in imagery or whatever. Yeah. So it's not so obvious. Maybe something to mention too is a fairly basic rule of thumb, which is try not to be too distracting with your background, because really the focus should be on you and your co-host or whoever it is. Because often, and that's sort of a rule of thumb, I'm an actor, and now most people will shoot their own little auditions, and they always say, keep a fairly boring, by boring I mean not too dynamic background, so that it doesn't take away from the actual focus.
Yeah, what he said.
See?
If you found this video helpful, subscribe. If you didn't find it helpful, then don't subscribe. We only want people who like these videos here.
We don't want any negativity at all.
No negative comments or anything. But we will see you tomorrow.